In part 3 of the speaking paper for the B2 First and C1 Advanced, so that's FCE and CAE Cambridge English exams, you will be given a diagram very much like this, which you will have to talk about with your partner for 2 minutes, and then you will have 1 minute to speak about another question where you'll have to come to some kind of a conclusion to make a decision. Seems quite simple, right? Yeah, more or less. But I'm going to tell you how to do this part of the exam and also how to get the best score possible in this part of the exam. Okay, let's do this. So welcome to another video in my series on the Cambridge English exams, where I give you lots of tips on how to pass and get the best score possible in the exams. And today we're looking at speaking part 3, but only for the FCE and CAE. The Proficiency exam has a different part 3, so I will make a video about that in the future. So speaking part 3 is a collaborative task. So it's the first time in the whole exam that you will be working with a partner. And that's why, as I've said in previous videos, it's a really good idea if you can find a friend, a schoolmate, a colleague, a family member, anybody who is taking the same exam, so you can do this part together. Not only prepare together, which is a great advantage, but really do the exam together. So what do you have to do in this part of the exam? Well, who better to ask than Cambridge English Language Assessment? So this part tests the candidate's ability to engage in a discussion and to work towards a negotiated decision. They also say it's an opportunity to show the range of language and ability to invite the opinion and ideas of their partner. Again, very important. And also they've used this word again, opportunity, that I spoke about in my last video. This really is an opportunity. The whole speaking part of the exam is an opportunity to demonstrate your level, your vocabulary, your grammar, your pronunciation. People often get very nervous, but if you see it as an opportunity, you have a more positive mindset towards this part of the exam. So as I said, you'll be given a diagram like this, which has a question in the middle and then 5 prompts around the outside. So 5 areas to talk about related to the question. And you'll have 15 seconds to read the question and the prompts. So I recommend that you pay attention to the vocabulary, because you can use the vocabulary in your answers. So in this example, what are the advantages and disadvantages of communicating in these different ways? Use that, use advantages, disadvantages, communicating in different ways in your answer. And then with the different prompts, have face-to-face meeting, write a letter, chatting online, having a video conference, giving a lecture. It's all vocabulary you can use in your answers. And then you'll have 2 minutes to discuss these prompts with your partner. So try to speak about each prompt, each area. You may run out of time because 2 minutes passes very quickly, especially when it's divided between 2 people. But it's not a big problem if you don't speak about all of them. Try to speak about all of them, but don't worry if you don't. It's not that important. And then you'll have another question which you have to speak about for 1 minute. And the idea in this question is that you try to come to some kind of decision together with your partner. So it's about negotiating and collaborating. Those are the key words here. But you will not be penalized if you don't come to a decision. You may not agree with your partner, or he or she may not agree with you. But it's really more about the process, the negotiating and the collaborating, more than the final decision. Now, of course, in this part of the exam, you depend a little on your partner. You may have a partner who is very shy or very nervous and doesn't speak much. Or on the other hand, you may have a very dominating partner who speaks too much and doesn't give you a chance. And the first thing to say about that is that the examiners are prepared for this. They know how to look out for this type of problem with your partner. But a big recommendation I give is that you should try to take control of the conversation without fighting. Because if your partner has seen this video, he or she will also try to take control, but obviously don't fight. But it's better if you can be the first person to speak. So you may say something like, shall I start? Or let's talk about this first. And then you have control. So then you start speaking, and then you can ask for the opinion of your partner. I mean, if you do get a very talkative partner, you may need to interrupt, and I'll give you some vocabulary for that in a moment. But let's start by looking at some vocabulary for giving your opinion. So of course you can simply say, in my opinion. You can say, I believe, I think, or I don't believe, I don't think. And I would say, a little bit more advanced, you could say, the way I see it, etc. So because you're going to be giving a lot of opinions, I would learn 2 or 3 of these expressions, maybe some others if you have some other ideas, but don't always repeat the same sentence or expression, because the examiners will be looking for a range of vocabulary, remember. You will also need to know how to ask your partner's opinion. So here is some vocabulary for that. You can say, how about you? Or simply, what do you think? Or more advanced, where do you stand on this? Or would you agree? So again, you may need to learn 3 or 4 of these expressions just so you have a range to really demonstrate your vocabulary. Sometimes in the discussion you're going to need to agree with your partner. Probably, not necessarily, but probably. So some vocabulary for that. Simply, yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's quite emphatic. A more colloquial expression and quite advanced is you could say, you nailed it there. You nailed it there. You're absolutely correct there. That's 100% correct. And you can say, I agree 100%. Again, quite emphatic. And of course, sometimes you may have to disagree. In fact, I would recommend you disagree sometimes. Don't just say, yes, I agree, fantastic, yes, that's right. It creates a better discussion if you disagree sometimes. So some good vocabulary for that is, I beg to differ. I'm afraid I can't agree with you there. More diplomatically, you could say, I take your point, but, or good point, but. So then you're being a little bit less direct. You're accepting they said something interesting and valid, but you don't agree with it. Now, as I said, you may be unlucky and get a very talkative partner who may dominate the discussion. So you need to know how to interrupt. You need to be quite assertive. So some vocabulary for interrupting could be, sorry, can I jump in there? Can I add something? Sorry to interrupt. Or perhaps a little more direct is, hold on a second. So yeah, you have to be quite assertive if your partner is just not giving you time to speak, because it's your opportunity too, it's your time, it's your exam, and you need to find an opportunity to demonstrate your level to the examiners. And finally, some vocabulary for concluding, for when you're ready to take a decision or maybe not take a decision. Okay, so I think we're in agreement that. So in conclusion, we think. Or if you can't agree, you can say quite a nice expression to say that is to say, I think we're going to have to agree to disagree. So that's a nice way just to accept that you're not going to agree to anything. You're not going to come to some kind of conclusion together. And that's fine. It's not a problem, as I said earlier. So a few extra tips I want to give you now to really get the highest score possible in this part of the exam. One is, try to practice active listening. So what do I mean by active listening? Well, when your partner is speaking, obviously you'll be thinking about what to say yourself, but your body language should be showing that you are listening to your partner. You're not just looking forward or looking at the diagram. Try to make some kind of eye contact with your partner. Turn your body to show that you're actively listening to him or her, that you're paying attention to what they're saying. Nod, which is this action, or shake your head, which is this action, depending on what your partner is saying, just to show that you are really listening and paying attention. And smile when necessary. These little things just demonstrate to the examiners that you are confident and that you are really engaged in a discussion. It's not just for the exam. You're performing an act for the examiners. But also try to relax and enjoy it as much as possible. I know that sounds very, very difficult to do when you have so many things to think about and it's a stressful situation. You will probably be nervous, but What the examiners want to see, especially in the Cambridge Advanced, is a natural and fluent discussion. And the best way to do that is to prepare very well. As I've explained in a previous video, practice this part of the test with a partner as much as possible. If you don't have a partner, then just practice it in front of a mirror or however you can. But it gets easier the more you practice it, really, especially with the times. You have a limited time for each part of the exam, so the more you practice, the better. Okay, if you have any more questions or any more tips that you would like to share, please put them in the comments, because we can all help each other in this. And check out my other videos. Now I have a lot of videos on the Cambridge English exams, and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Okay, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.